You're listening to the Trade Show Insights Podcast, Season 16, Episode 6. I'm your host and exhibit marketing strategist, Marlis Arnold, bringing you tools to improve your exhibit results. On today's episode, brought to you by the Exhibit Marketers Cafe, we've got a rebroadcast of our virtual lunch with Marco Barozzi giving us the latest on what's happening in Europe. Marco Barozzi is the founder and managing director of Expo Consulting, located in Bologna, Italy. He has 30 years of experience and knowledge of international markets and spent many years at key positions in prestigious exhibition companies such as Miller Freeman and Reed Exhibitions before founding Expo Consulting. Since 1998, he has served as the country manager for Fiera Barcelona for Italy, and he speaks fluent English, French, and Spanish besides his native Italian. So Marco, ciao, bonjour, hola, welcome to Virtual Lunch.
Thank you, Marlis. Gracias. And thanks for having me here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, it's kind of funny. It's like, you know, CNN and all the news networks, they have their foreign correspondents in like London or Tokyo or whatever. It's like, well, Marco's like our virtual lunch correspondent from Italy. So he keeps me updated on all the things happening in Europe. So Marco, thank you so much. You know, we got a lot of different things we could talk about today, a lot of different directions we can go, but kind of start out and tell us a little bit about, you know, I know we may think we know what's been happening in Europe from what we've been hearing, but you're the boots on the ground. So tell us a little bit about, you know, kind of what's been going on and what you're starting to hear as things are moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, so I should start from, from the bad. Things, talking about, vaccine rollout and all that, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about how the industry is doing. And I think there are good signs for the reopening of the industry and the events and trade shows. If you just want to have an example today, for example, in Spain, yesterday, by the way, it's there's a show that started. It's a small regional show, but it started yesterday and it's going to be there for 3 days in Madrid, and there's another show that will be opening in May, tourism show, and I think, there are very, very good signs, and also not just from the organizers themselves, but also from the people, from the companies, because there's they're really eager for a comeback. They're really eager to find, to go and walk the show floor again. And this also, when we speak to the companies, obviously there's still a bit of fear, they're still afraid of what's going on because there's a certainty about, the vaccine, about the travels, because you don't know what's, still, because of the restrictions and all that. But generally speaking, I think, there are good signs in spite of the fact that in most countries we're still, on lockdown. For example, in Germany, in Italy too, we are all red zones, they're all these red colors, which are, horrible in a way. But this is something we are living with, so we probably have to accept it for the time being. So I also, can tell you that the reopen, not a full reopen, but a very good reopening, a restart of the trade shows in Europe will be in Q2 and Q3. And for example, in the UK, government said that large events, will be reopening on June 21st, according to current data. So in Italy, we're still, going through the digital event, and we can discuss about digital event and in person later if you wish. But I think Q2 and Q3 will be actually will give us the real feeling of what's going on and how the companies will come back, especially if there is this vaccine or health passport or green certificate, whatever you want to call it.
Well, and I do want to talk about that green certificate here in just a minute, but a couple of shows that I know are already moving forward. You were talking about getting things started in Q2. The Bologna Children's Book Fair, and I know Alan's got that link he's going to share here for us. The Bologna Children's Book Fair is scheduled for June 14 through 17, and they are planning to be fully in person. So
Right.
Have you heard any details on that one specifically?
Not on that specifically, but there are several shows that are planning, to be in person, and not just in Italy, but also in other countries. But there are good examples also in Turkey, for example. This at the end of the month, there will be a show about textile and I think clothing, and so manufacturing. So I think that's going to be one. And also Russia. Russia is one of the countries that has had a chance to celebrate a couple of events. So, depending on the country, but actually until, the second part of the year, I do not see many in-person events taking place, save from, obviously digital events that are taking place, as I was, telling you before.
Well, and on that, MWC Barcelona,
Yep.
they've announced they are what they're calling fully hybrid. So we've got a couple of links on that. That's coming up June 28th through July 1st. And but there's been several big companies that have pulled out: Ericsson, Cisco, Sony. So it's they're still going to do the in person, but it's let's just say it's going to look very different this year.
I think they do. I think they do. They strongly want to have the in-person event. As far as I know, that there are not so many the companies that pulled out for the time being, at least. I knew there were 6 or 7 of obviously big companies, but those companies have have confirmed their participation in digitally.
Right.
Digital, so that will be present anyway. So as far as I know, the show will go on in person and hybrid, possibly, but I think, they still have strongly, this desire to hold the show in person.
Well, on that, I just stumbled across an article last night. Here's the link for that, that the large space, like thousands of square feet or square meters for Ericsson, is being taken by a small U.S. startup that's going to have 100 robots in their space. And they've really, they have literally laid it all on the line. They've taken the Ericsson booth space, what would be the Ericsson booth space, and they are going to make this huge splash at the in-person event. But this article on Wired magazine, it was really interesting how it laid out how it was all structured with the the way the big companies have their spaces basically reserved. And so it's really interesting that this company is going to step in and take their space this year, but obviously then they don't get that space next year because it goes back to Ericsson. So it's a really interesting article about the risk that this young company is taking. So, but that's why I said that it's going to look different. Their show floor is going to be different this year.
I think so, but those gigantic shows like Mobile, CES, all these, big events, they are amazing. When you walk into this show, you just, you just are without words. You just say, wow. That's a big thing, and also because of the price, because of the people they can gather, because of the lead they can generate. I think these, are undisputable, and will continue having much success in the future.
Well, let's talk about, we mentioned earlier about the digital green certificate. So tell us what that's all about, and why that is going to be an important factor going forward.
Well,
or if you think it's going to be important.
Well, in my opinion, it is. I mean, there are surveys that tell us that it's going to be important, not just for business travel, but also for travel. I mean, because travel has to resume. So business travel is absolutely part and related to our industry. So I think that this proposal to the EU, and this also came from the European Exhibition Industry Alliance, and also the European Major Center exhibitions, so, and also the UFI. And so I think this, they made this proposal, which is being considered by the EU, and I, hope that there will be a response, and there will be, some positive, maybe a response in a short time, because even our industry, and especially our industry needs, to have a response. And I know, for example, in Italy, there are several show organizers that are putting pressure also on the EU. They're sending letters, also associations. And one thing, Marlies, which I think needs to be remarked, is the fact that there's been a very good coordination, the approach, and the coordination work made by all the associations, local association in each country, but also, the European Alliance and Industry Alliance, and also the AMECA and the UFI, with the European Union, in order to, deliver this unified message for the restart of events and for this green certificate. And, just because, it's needed. Now it's time, to go back to business, and to come business to come back.
Well, so let's back up a little bit. Since you and I have been talking about this, let's fill everybody else in if they haven't heard. What exactly is this digital green certificate?
Well, the green certificate is something like, you can call there different definitions. Sometimes you call that passport or vaccine passport, which means, if you are negative, if you have a negative test, or if you have been, already no anti-COVID tests and all that, and you are, you came out negative, etc. So you can get this certificate. There is still a bit of a debate still, because this is going to penalize maybe those who haven't had, haven't made the test, etc. So this is what, the survey and the article I think I published yesterday on LinkedIn, that was kind of, emphasizing, the fact that in any case, 73% of those surveyed think, that the green certificate is a good idea. And the rest, are still doubtful, and maybe think it's not, maybe they're going to be penalizing, those who haven't made the test, or haven't still made the vaccine rollout, for example, haven't been vaccinated, etc.
And we do have that link we'll put up here in just a second. So if I understand right, the EU is talking about, at least making that a mandatory requirement to travel within the EU countries, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think also, yes, for the EU countries for sure, but also I think, once you got this certificate, then you can travel also in other countries, obviously, depending on the restrictions and depending on the various country rules and regulations.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit. The here in the US, the big thing is the venues. A lot of the convention centers and some of the hotels have been getting the GBAC certification for the safety and sanitization. So is there a lot of that in Europe? Have you been hearing about a lot of the facilities that have been getting certified for their
I think there's something, for sure, there are rules, also regulations, which have been dictated, yes, by the International Conference Association, I think, and other, and also, all the biggest associations in Europe. The thing is that the major exhibition centers, but not just the major. So I think most of the exhibition centers, venues in Europe did a great work during the pandemic, And also they're doing a good work now because of the vaccine rollout, because most of them have been converted into vaccination centers. And before they were converted into COVID hospitals, for example, they were supplying, for example, distributing food, or they were offering their kitchens, for the homeless. So they did quite a good job. I can tell you they did this in Germany. They did this in Italy, for example, in Milan. I mean, they converted 25,000 square meters into a COVID hospital, even if temporarily, But this been really a great work from part of the exhibition venues in Spain, Barcelona, for example. I mean, they set a temporary hospital with a capacity of 300 places, for example, in expanding until 2000, using kitchen and also giving food. To those who were in need. IFEMA in Madrid did the same, and they allocated like 3,000 beds, if I remember well. So I think this was a great job. And now I just got a piece of news from Barcelona that they're going to use some of their spaces for the vaccine rollout. So I know that the rules and regulations, that the certification is required, but I think for the time being, maybe not all of them are aligned, with what you have in the U.S. as far as I know.
It sounds like they haven't been, at least if they're doing it, they're not making it as big a deal and publicizing it as much as they are here. It sounds like, because here it's like all of the venues, all the convention centers, once they get certified, they make sure they put that out in the news so that everybody knows that they're
of course, and there will surely I think stick to the rules for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess some already probably have. But
it pretty much, I think, going forward, they're all going to have to get there.
Absolutely. So, that's going to be a must.
So Kevin has a question for you. Is this, going back to the digital green certificate, is this similar to the app that was developed in Israel that we heard about? Basically, yes. Puts a green card in your Apple Wallet?
Absolutely, yes. That's something like that. It could be like a QR code. It could be something like that. Yes, absolutely. It's similar to what Israel already done. For your information, I was talking with a colleague from Israel yesterday, and he said that 60% of the population has already been vaccinated. And so, it was pretty happy because, he's about 60. And so he said, it's my turn is going to be soon, So that's good.
I know, it seems like they're really showing the rest of the world how it's done. I mean, they've been ahead of everybody all along the way with the vaccines, it seems like. Okay, so the other thing that you and I had talked about before is the government aid. And I know in this country, it's been somewhat challenging and somewhat disorganized. So how has the government, obviously in Europe, you've got the EU, but then you've still got the individual countries. But what are some of the aid factors that have come into play in Europe?
There's been a lot going on here, but I think there was like sort of three phases. It was the emergency phase when there was a scheme that would probably, was trying, to be for the organizers and for the companies. I mean, those in need. I mean, that was, the schemes to help them, and then it was the restart scheme, and finally the recovery plan. I mean, the restart plan, which is now. I mean, lately, for example, Italy, last week, the government finally approved, the funds that should be distributed, among not just the exhibition organizers, but also to the companies who have lost most of their turnover in the past year. And so this happened in almost each European country. I mean, different schemes, sometimes covered by or under the country umbrella. For example, Germany, where they got this state aid, what they call state aid temporary framework, which in some cases has not been just a temporary framework. There's somebody proposed that it's going to be extended until the end of 2021. So I think this is something that each country has put in place, depending on the various times, that it happened. For example, because when the restart took place, and this was like in June, July last year, there was maybe some funds were provided, But then now, I mean, there's a need for more. And I know, for
Mm-hmm.
example, in Italy, they are always requesting, I mean, they put in a lot of pressure also and sending to again, I mean, this was a big coordination with all the association, the local association in various countries, if we talk about the industry, and this to the European Union in order for them to approve the recovery plan, which I think is going to be finally approved, and then all the money can be distributed, to those who need.
Well, and I think that was the challenge throughout our industry was we learned through all of this that we weren't really terribly organized. There was a lot of challenge, I think, in trying to get a lot of these different aid packages and things passed. So.
This could be delivered, Marlies, also, I mean, in different ways, like, I mean, direct grants or maybe loans or insurance credits, or also guarantees, fund, and this is, I mean, I think this was depending on the various countries, but also, I mean, a primary source was the local government, and then the secondary source was the European Union. But now under the recovery plan umbrella, there should be good money, I mean, to be distributed for all those in need.
Well, that's good. Definitely forward progress. So better late than never, right?
Better late than never. And, I just wanted to start this conversation saying, bad times are upon us, because this was and the ancient Romans were saying that. But I hope that what comes after, I mean, is not happening, because they said that the worst is yet to come. And I hope it's not going to be that, because I think we are seeing really positive things ahead. And I'm really confident that this industry can restart soon. In-person events can restart. Hybrid is here to stay, as they say. And you pointed this out, I guess, in previously. And one of the things I also want to pick from one of your introduction, where you were speaking, is about the fact that we were in an old world regarding our industry, and we are entering in a new world. And there is a very interesting article from Marco Giberti, who's one of the experts in this industry, which has the title of which comes from the Star Wars saga, and is you have to unlearn what you have learned. And so this probably is one of the things that we, as an industry, as people of the industry, have to do. So we probably have to learn new skills, and we probably have to unlearn something that we have learned before. So I think that's something we probably have to do.
That's true. And we've all been learning at an incredible pace for the last year. I know I saw an article this week that said basically we've hopped from 2020 to 2030 as far as technology and developments and things like that. So, so Marco, we'll share your link here so people can get in touch with you. But what's the best way? Other than your website, catch you on LinkedIn, Twitter. Where will people find you?
Twitter, LinkedIn. I mean, you can Facebook or email. I don't know if you have my email, but on LinkedIn you can find it. I mean, so yes, no problems indeed.
So you are multi-channel.
Well, yes, Marlies, like you.
We are all multi-channel these days. So Marco, thank you so much for being here all the way from Italy, joining us for Virtual Lunch. We always appreciate your insights. You can find all the links mentioned during our interview in this episode's show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. And if you'd like to join us for an upcoming virtual lunch, you'll find info on that at exhibitmarketerscafe.com/lunch. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, you can subscribe to the podcast and automatically receive future episodes on your chosen device. Simply search for Trade Show Insights in Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or virtually anywhere else that podcasts are found, then click the subscribe button. Trade Show Insights is protected by the Creative Commons copyright license. You may feel free to share this recording with colleagues or embed it on your own blog, as long as it's shared in its entirety and is not used for commercial purposes. To learn more, please see the link in the sidebar of the show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. Well, that's it for this episode of Trade Show Insights. Be sure to check out our show notes and archives at tradeshowinsights.com. You can also connect with me using the social media links or the contact page on the site. I'm Marlis Arnold. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time for more tools to improve your exhibit results.